Hi, welcome. So we've learned a lot of technical skills and even core skills throughout this challenge. And if you have reached here, congratulations, you've really learned a lot. And now we want to introduce you to Git and GitHub because you need to put your projects online to GitHub. But then I'm going to show you some of the things you can do with Git so that you can be comfortable because, like a data analyst, you're part of the tech team, and then you might need to share some of your work with other developers and collaborate even on open source projects. So it's just good to know how to use Git and GitHub because normally you would be saving your files, maybe save your file and name it V1, V2, V3, or even just changing your files directly in the same folder you're working. And at times you want to go back to the old version, you will not be able to find it. So Git is actually a version control, and it helps you to be able to save your files and get different versions, and you can go back even to an older version and see what you did. So if you remember something you were doing rightly, maybe three versions back, you can always go back and set the time back three times, three versions back, for example. And then many people can also collaborate on the same project with you, and then you can also create new features and without messing the main branch or the main project file. And then at the other end you have GitHub, which is actually the online service to host your projects, and then you can be able to share your codes and others can download and share your work, and you can be able to merge codes together and come up with very interesting applications. So we are going to look at this in the next subsequent videos, and the first thing we are going to do in this video is to install Git so that we can be able to see how to do all these small commands on our local repository. And then in the future video we are going to show you how to create your GitHub account online so that you can be able to push your repository from your local files, your local computer, to your online repository in GitHub, or start creating an online GitHub repository and then you pull it to your local repository in your computer, work on it, and then later on push it back to your GitHub, which is almost the same thing you would do. All these projects that you've been doing, you would just take them, push them to your GitHub, take the link, and add to your CV. So the first thing we should do now is let's install Git and continue to explore what Git can do in the subsequent videos. So I'm just going to go here to my screen, and then we can search here for Git. Let's just say download Git, for example, download Git. And now if I come to downloads here, I'm going to see the download for Windows, download for Mac, download for Linux. So for Windows, you need to download Git because the command line here will not work like Git. So we can download it here. So if I click on download Windows, for example, and then I go to, is it a 64-bit machine or a 32-bit? So if you take, for example, 64, for example, and then you see the download has already started. So for me, I already have it downloaded. So I'm not going to wait for it to download. So I'm just going to click here to install it. And then we can go to yes here. So we are just going to install here. So it's really very interesting if you've been working on projects before and you've been trying to save and maybe even go back to an older version, you'll find Git very, very interesting. And then after installing Git, you might also want to install a text editor like Atom, Sublime, or whatever, just to demonstrate, to see your changes that you'll be doing in your files. It's optional though, but I'm just going to also install Sublime. So you can here, for example, if I go to launch here and then I press finish, I go to launch. So let me close this. So this is already Git here open. So I can also go here and then I type download Sublime text, maybe here, Sublime text. So there's 4, 3, whatever. So if I go to download, Sublime text is they could also be Atom, anyone you're comfortable with, but it's just a text editor. So but then it could be Atom or download Atom, whatever you're comfortable with, just get it. So but then I'm going to go with Sublime here, and then we can say for Windows So you can get it for the different. So if you see, it's already downloading here. So I already have it. So I'm going to pause it, and then I'm just going to click now on the Sublime I have downloaded. So it's going to be up down. I'm just going to go to next install, and then I'm just going to install Sublime here, and then I click on finish. So let's go back to our Git. So if you've successfully installed your Git, you should have something like this, and you can just maybe check if you have your Git there. So I'm just going to do git dash dash version, just run that. So it's telling me I have a Git version 2.4 installed, and then when you install Git like this, at times it is important to configure so that when you're pushing your code to GitHub, it should know who is pushing the code. So you need to give yourself a name and an email, for example. So you need to give something like git config. Here is the command, and then you say dash dash global. Now you get a username, user.name. So because you have a user email, user.name, so I can say maybe Cyril, for example, here. Then I can also pass an email, git config dash dash global. Then I say user.email. Then I can give any email here. I'm just going to type anything, maybe challenge, 90 days challenge. I'm just going to type anything here, 90 days challenge at gmail.com, for example. Then I press enter. So now if I want to know who is the username, or what's my username, who is the user here, so I just need to type a git config, for example, git config, and then I get a user.name. Then it's going to tell me the name is Cyril, same as I could also do a git config. Then I want to know which email I register here, .email, and then it's going to give me this email. So we just installed Git, and then we can also ensure that you install your Sublime text, ensure that it is installed, so that at the end of the day, we can be able to use it to get the analysis that we need. So if, for example, I want to go to my Sublime, I'm going to go to yes, and then that has been installed already. So just need to check your Sublime here, and then we are going to use it in subsequent videos. So this is your Sublime text. We are going to use it in subsequent videos to be able to assist us to do some changes here and see how they affect our Git here. So I hope you've been able to first install Git, and then being able to install Sublime Text like your text editor, and also at the same time being able to understand that Git is important for your version control and for sharing your work with other developers. And also we are going to be looking at GitHub in subsequent videos. So see you next video. Wish you good data luck.